The winner of the KPMG Australia Sail Grand Prix will be decided today. Just 6 points separate the top 5 here in Sydney.
Big moment on board the switchboat.
This is our territory.
We are coming for you.
I won't go down without a fight.
We thrive in big wins.
Let's go.
Vamos.
But for the overall leaderboard, every point matters when $2 million is on the line. Welcome to SailGP.
Waves crash underneath, sound like thunder speaking. Flying carbon machines, driven by the world's best, yes. Powered by nature, raw passion, all action. When it takes, racing on water, racing with impact. Give it all, everything, give it all, everything. We are racing. When it takes, we are SailGP.
The 8th event of Season 4 has SailGP venturing into the Southern Hemisphere for the first of 2 stops. After conquering North American, European, and Middle Eastern waters, one of the most iconic sailing backdrops in the world takes center stage. Welcome to Sydney Harbour. Day 2 of the KPMG Australia Sail Grand Prix has arrived with the 10-boat international fleet dreaming of striking it rich down under. The top of the leaderboard couldn't be tighter. Every point matters as we head towards the grand final in San Francisco in July. I'm Todd Harrison. Joining me for today's action are sailing veterans Olympian Stevie Morrison and former world champion Emily Nagle. With 7 events complete, it's the Australians leading the way, 6 points clear of their close rivals, the Kiwis, who after winning the last 2 events sit in 2nd place. But their missing driver Pete Burling this weekend as Nathan Outteridge gets the call to fill in. The battle for 3rd place is tight with just 2 points between the next 4 teams as the USA, Rockwell, Denmark, Spain, and Emirates Great Britain came to Sydney looking to make gains. France and Canada are still in the fight but will need to go on a winning streak. So let's take a look back at how the teams fared in the first 3 fleet races from day 1's racing in Sydney.
Sydney Harbour showcased why it's one of the best and most challenging places in the world to sail.
Another big moment on board the switchboat. Wow, look how tight it is. And the Germans fly too high. Great start, Spain. Great start, New Zealand. What a start for Taylor Canfield and the United States crew.
Australia made light work, overhauling the United States in race 1, laying down their mark on home waters.
They're going faster and they're sailing less distance.
With Nikolai Sehested back on board, they showed their tactical flair with a slingshot around Genesis Island.
And round the outside, here goes Nikolai Sehested.
Australia sailed clear for the win,
The Aussies take the win in race number 1.
and Denmark held off the fleet for 2nd.
Diego Bottin looks like he's got his timing right, and Spain are up and foiling.
Spain managed to find the best wind and defended against the informed Danes and Australians.
Tom Slingsby, wow, he is absolutely breathing down the young Spanish crew's neck.
Behind them, Germany and France scrapped for every inch.
Whoa, the Germans missed the mark. Oh, and this could be disaster for the German crew.
Spain proved to Tom Slingsby that they are a force to be reckoned with.
In race number 2, it is Spain that takes the victory.
Eric Heil, what a start at the bottom of the line. He brushed off the incident in the last race again. New Zealand comes through 2nd.
With Nathan Outteridge standing in for Peter Burling on board New Zealand, he found his groove and took the final race of the day for 3rd place overall.
And while it was a good day for some, it was a day to forget for Emirates GBR and Team USA. Disappointing performances yesterday sees them out of the running for today's event final. It was frustration too for Canada. Mechanical issues at the start of race 1 saw them finish last and prevented them from competing in races 2 and 3. After one day of racing in Sydney, there is a tie atop the leaderboard with Denmark and the defending season champions Australia even on points. But the battle for 3rd place sees the Kiwis 3 points ahead of France, with Spain sitting in 5th overall on 20. For the rest of the pack, only a miracle will see them make today's event final. Remember that after today's 2 full fleet races, only the top 3 on points will compete in the event final, where the winner of that race takes the KPMG Australia SailGP title, as well as the 10 season points that come with that win. Stevie Morrison now has a look at today's course here on the Sydney Harbour.
The iconic Sydney Harbour is picture perfect today, and it's going to be a great start and then a sprint to Mark 1. After Mark 1, the course opens up tactically. At each gate, the boats can take a left or a right turn. To get these F50s sailing fast, they need to sail at an angle to the wind. So that's why we see them crisscrossing the harbour, trying to find the best wind and the shortest course between gates. It's going to be a tight race course. It's about boat speed and accuracy to finish first in front of the fans on Genesis Island.
And Genesis Island certainly is the place to be here on a beautiful Sunday in Sydney, Australia. We've got local knowledge coming in the form of Olympic silver medalist Lisa Darmanin, who's down on the water. We'll get back to Lisa Darmanin in just a moment as we get ready for racing action. Remember, this is race number 4, 2 fleet races before we get to that event final. Emily, as you look at the conditions out there, what are you anticipating? And give me another boat that you'd like to see perform well in this first race of Sunday.
Well, it's going to be a glamour day out there. It is a little less windy than it was yesterday, but it's a much more consistent direction. So the wind's funneling through the heads, so it should be brilliant conditions for the racing out there. I'd love to see what happens between France and Denmark today, and if they can fight it into that grand final today.
Everyone getting into position as all 10 boats will be on the start line. Canada's got their problems sorted out, and we are ready to go racing. So here we go. All 10 boats of the fleet are ready to go. Mechanical problems worked out, and Stevie, the conditions could not be much better as everyone gets themselves into a very tight and tricky start box.
Yeah, I think if Lisa had been able to speak to us, then she'd have told us we've got a fantastic bit of breeze. We've got the bigger foils. We've got the 24-metre wing with the big jib. So we've got maximum horsepower on the boats out there on the water today. Good for setting up for foiling. But the race course is a little bit more steady, a little bit more sailable. So it's going to be about accuracy. It's going to be tight racing. And look at the fleet gathering towards the right-hand side of the screen there. Switzerland, USA leading the fleet back. Australia way out the back at the moment as New Zealand charge towards the line. It feels like people might be a little late. Certainly Germany look a little late on parade, but it's all about how well they've judged that timing now. Germany spin the boat at the bottom of the line. USA towards the top of the line. Australia, France and Spain look late. We're looking for this line to turn white, and we're going to be go in Sydney for race 4 on Sunday. How's your timing at the top of the line? Great start by the USA, but it's Switzerland and Germany again with a fantastic start. 3 in a row for Eric Heil off the bottom of the line, and it's a drag race to Mark 1.
Coming up to mark number 1 of race number 4 here on Sunday. Germany on the inside line, but look at the speed that Switzerland has.
An aggressive move by New Zealand, forcing everyone wide, secures 3rd place. Fantastic from Eric Heil. And this boundary comes real fast coming in here. It's super closer to the fleet as we see New Zealand first to turn away. Germany in control of Switzerland, and it's all about accuracy of manoeuvres as the boats head off downwind. But look at this, USA are pushed wide and Australia are back in last place at the moment. No good for the hometown heroes right now.
Up here? No, not yet, yeah.
Remember, coming into today, it was Denmark and Australia tied on points. You need to be in the top 3 to get to that final.
Front 3 boats all doing over 60 kilometres an hour as they approach gate 2.
This is where we're going to learn a lot about the course, Todd. Of course, Shark Island yesterday was a real problem. Genesis Island, it's rebranded for this event, and that's off the top left of our screen. It's all about who can make the gain with minimum manoeuvres. It looks like Germany going to be able to turn left very easily, Switzerland turn right. Who is going to be the first boat to make the overtakes here as we see New Zealand coming in 3rd, but which way is going to favour? Will Switzerland gain sailing away from the wind shadow of Genesis Island, or will Germany gain by minimising manoeuvres heading that way? It's going to be interesting. We're going to learn a lot about the course in the next 60 or 90 seconds.
Elevated heart rates here on the first race. We've got one more fleet race coming up after this one, and then the fleet is cut to only the top 3.
Already we're seeing slightly less pressure on the right-hand side, top of the screen where Germany are. They're down in 18 to 20 kilometers now of pressure, while Switzerland have had up to 23 at the bottom of the screen.
But it's tight. Germany has the right of way. Switzerland need to be assured they're ahead. New Zealand are getting sucked back into the pack here. Outridge had to dip away, but it's Germany. Well, it's all pretty even. Not a lot in that at the bottom of the course there. Switzerland are out in front. What a great moment for this Swiss crew to be leading away, and they've now got control of the race course, and they again look to turn the boat. None of the fleet want to seem to get stuck in what I imagine is the wind shadow of Genesis Island. It's great to have all the fans there, but it's not helping the wind for the fleet. As we see, look at the fleet congested on this boundary. They're over here looking for more wind. As we see a close moment with Great Britain and Canada. That looked like Canada pushed that a bit tight to me.
So a time to shine as you see the ride heights on the left-hand side. That's all about foiling. How high out of the water, Stevie? As we know, the higher you fly, the more unstable the boat is.
Well, it's more unstable, Todd, the higher you fly it out of the water, but there's less boat, there's less foil in the water, there's less drag. If you minimize drag, you're going to go faster. So yeah, you're racing on the edge, but you've got to be going a little bit quicker.
So the optimum number we're looking for there is around 1 meter. So it's on the limit, but it's quick.
Tight moment there. Germany had to keep clear of Switzerland, but right now Germany are going to be sailing a faster mode. Switzerland are going to be struggling, potentially getting into the dirty wind of Germany, and the right of way is now with Germany. Germany can turn whenever they want to, and Switzerland will need to keep clear. It's really tight in the pack out here today.
So the disturbed air coming off of Germany slowing down Switzerland, and off the right-hand side there you see Emirates GBR. They need a big performance here, although they're probably not going to make the top 3.
No, we have to go to the okay, all good.
Conversation on board Switzerland. They're talking about when Germany manoeuvres, Germany will have the right of way. Switzerland will have to keep clear. Seb Schneider thinks he's going to go behind him. Here we go. Tight cross coming up. It's going to be real close. Switzerland spin the boat away from the wind, hoping to make the right turn. Germany's turning left, and I think that left turn probably is going to be favoured. Germany are sailing back towards more wind, and it's going to be a really tight upwind leg. Look at that. Nothing in it on that upwind leg. As New Zealand fight their way back to third, they look to turn left as well.
traffic? Stay above. We go between
And the
them.
race to the final is on. Currently, we're still seeing the same top 3 teams, Denmark, New Zealand, and Australia. France still have some work to do if they want to make it into that final.
Heartbreaker for France, Stevie. This has got to be, what, the 3rd race in a row where they're going to maybe just miss out by mere points?
Yeah, there are a few points back at the moment, Todd, for sure. It's been a bit of a tough break for them, but it's interesting how tight. The wind's a lot steadier today, and the fleet is so congested right now. It's really, really tight. When you're back in this pack, the wind's disturbed, your tactical decision-making is really compromised. If you've got less wind, it's hard to go as fast out there. As we see, it looks like a gain to Germany at the moment, but they're going to, when they manoeuvre back towards Switzerland, it's going to be Switzerland with the right of way. Crucial moment for the German crew here.
On leg 4 of 7, race number 4, the first race of Sunday, we've reconnected with Lisa Darmana down on the water. Lisa, what are you seeing, and more importantly, what are you hearing as far as a forecast?
Well, the forecast wasn't looking good, but I can tell you we've got more than we were promised. So I think all the sailors are pretty happy. We've got these 24-metre all-purpose wings and light air board, so nice big foils for them to try execute the foiling manoeuvres. We don't know if it's going to increase or not. I'm definitely hopeful, but it is really gusty out here, and you've got to be careful not to get trapped under too many headlands and get in light breeze. But yeah, what a race course. It's going to be so tight out here, and I think it's anyone's game, really.
At gate number 4, it is Germany, the first to make the turn. Switzerland sits in 2nd, and New Zealand with Nathan Outridge filling in for Pete Burling, currently in 3rd. Denmark in 4th. Remember, they're tied on the overall right now. And then you have Emirates GBR and the Aussies in 6th.
Really interesting, as we saw coming in there. New Zealand chose to go behind Switzerland, and a lot of the boats back in the fleet are trying to minimize the number of maneuvers they do. Every time you turn the boat, be it through the wind, up into the wind, whatever it is, you lose distance. So it's a guaranteed loss when you do that.
And we've just seen Germany there drop off the foils in that maneuver. They're back up in foiling now, but that's crucial meters lost when they're trying to hold on to the lead.
Stevie, one thing I've noticed, I think, over this season especially is there's a lot of teams that can get the lead. They can get the whole shot. They can get to mark one first and hold on. It's the teams that can maintain that and stay out in front, because then you see the guys like Tom Slingsby and Nikolai Sehested and, you know, Pete Burling. They're going to come through and they'll find a way to get around you.
Yeah, and it's just the accuracy of the maneuvers. We saw the United States, their new crew, they're learning on the job, but they fell off the foils. They're hemorrhaging a lot of meters, and when you're in the pack and you're compromised, it's hard to sail the boat as smoothly as this. Look how high the hull of that German boat's flying out the water. They're just doing a fantastic job, but that's because there's no one in their way. There's no one compromising what they do out there on the water. And that just means it's a lot easier. Once you're back in the pack, your decisions are affected, the way you sail the boat's compromised, and if you haven't got that experience, it's hard to be as smooth as that. Near perfect act from Germany there. New crew, they looked a bit messy yesterday, but put them out in front. They do a great job, Todd.
Well, don't want to give him the announcer jinx, but this would be the first win in SailGP history for the German team. Remember, this is their first season competing, so a huge victory on a very tricky course, Stevie. Remember, we've gone away from light winds to very heavy winds.
And just look at this performance by Germany. 100% fly time, the only team to stay up on the foils for this entire race.
So can they maintain it through all 7 legs here of race number 4? They've got a sizable lead of over 150 meters. Remember, another fleet race still to come with numbers being crunched. And right now, it looks like it could be Australia, New Zealand, and Denmark in the event final to close things out here in Australia.
Well, it's tight, and right now the German crew are sailing a near faultless race. We said staying on the foils, that's great, but they've had 3 fantastic starts in a row, and this is a really solid performance. Again, setting up for the left turn, that's definitely a feature that we're seeing coming away. Top of our screen, that's a bay in there. There's less wind, and Germany, now they've got to be careful. New Zealand are entitled to room to turn inside here. Germany have to give New Zealand room. Are they clear ahead? I think it's tight. I think they're ahead, but don't be surprised for Nathan Outridge. He's going to press the button and he's going to ask the question of Craig Mitchell there. Germany had to give him room. That's going to go to the umpires.
Did someone flag it?
Nathan Outridge there, he's saying, did someone flag it? He's saying, did someone press the protest button? Liv Mackay, she's at the back, strategist, hit the protest button, and we'll expect to hear something from the umpires on that decision.
Or not. 2-time Olympic bronze medalist Eric Heil of Germany takes a chance there. An aggressive move by Nathan Outridge as he comes in hot, and so far no penalty issued as they are now at mark number 6, and now it is a sprint to the finish.
Yeah, we just heard from Chief Umpire Craig Mitchell that it was very, very close, but it's been given a clear green flag, so great sigh of relief for Eric Heil and the German crew, and it's now just a sprint across there. Perfect execution, they pushed the limit and they're going to get their reward.
So history in the making on day 2 at the KPMG Australia Sail Grand Prix Sydney, winning race number 4 and picking up their first win. It's Germany SailGP taking the victory in Sydney Harbour.
What a start indeed. Sjoerd Biffel wing trim with that. New Zealand bring it home in second. That's great for them on the overalls here. Good result for Switzerland as well. Really nice result for Seb Snyder, and a few of the newer crews really showing some form. It's pretty much perfect conditions out here on Sydney Harbour. It's not too difficult sailing in terms of sailing the boat, so it allows them to show off their racing skills. And there we are. 4th and 5th.
Yep.
Brilliant performances yesterday by Denmark and Nikolai Sehested, and then Tom Slingsby. Well, he's never too far away from the front, is he?
We talk about consistency being king, and maybe some people will say, oh man, Australia and Denmark didn't do well, but Stevie, that's okay. They're okay to let Germany and Switzerland get a win here because it doesn't really harm them that much.
They just got to get to that 3-boat final at the end of today, and as soon as you get there, it doesn't matter what your points are. If you're in the final, you're fighting for the win.
Race 4 goes the way of the Germans. Spain will come through in 7th place, so a bit of disappointment there for Diego Botín as they are on the cusp of possibly making that 3-boat final. A bounce back in a sense for Canada and Phil Roberts. Remember, they were out of the last 2 races yesterday, and then France, really disappointing to see them drop back to 9th.
Yeah, disappointing for France and disappointing for the USA. New crew, and there's a lot of learning to be done, of course, on the boat, but they'd have been hoping for better than this, I'm sure of that, after a good performance. But I think it's just ironing out manoeuvres. What was interesting in that, and we've got to look for, a lot of the crews misjudged the start.
Am I right?
There's a bit less wind in that start zone, and not all, but a lot of the crews were late coming back. Basic error. They should learn from that. But it's also then, how do I execute my manoeuvres? Yeah. Australia at the back, every time they turn the boat, because they're the best boat in the fleet, they gain a couple of meters. They do the simple things very, very well, and that's why Denmark, Rockwool Denmark with Nikolai Sejersted, why the Australians are able to move through from 10th up to 5th and 6th to get a decent result, whereas the USA, those manoeuvres aren't quite clinical enough, and they're losing meters.
Like, it's just distracting with the jib. I don't know how to figure that out.
So frustration for the Americans as they finish in 10th. The entire fleet is home, and race number 4 is now complete with just one race to go before the fleet is cut to only the top 3. So 4 races down, and it is New Zealand and Rockwool Denmark still tied on points with 33. 1 point back is Australia, and it's Spain now dropping back to 24 points. France on 23, Stevie. It's going to be tough for them to catch those top 3, and so it's starting to look like, Emily, New Zealand, Rockwool, and Australia could be our final 3.
Yeah, I'd say that top 3 is pretty well locked in. It would take something pretty drastic for Spain to be able to jump up.
It's damage limitation now for the USA, Emirates, Great Britain. Can they jump a couple more places for the season points? Because this is a horrendous regatta, season-wise, if they can't make things happen.
Nathan Aldred steps on board, and they have themselves tied for first place.
And this was the race-winning move by Team Germany. They came in last minute, and in that final 20 seconds, they maneuvered round with speed. While a lot of the fleet were off of the foils, conserving momentum, they were able to hit the line with pace, alongside Switzerland, who were also up on the foils. This led to those 2 teams being the ones to reach Mark 1s first.
From that good start, of course, it meant that these 2 newer crews were able to sail very clean. They had a great race out in front, but they're making their own decisions, and it just came down to really small details of execution here. The Swiss had to manoeuvre close to Germany. That then gave the Germans a slight advantage, and it was that area of light wind in the top left-hand corner of our screen that Germany managed to avoid fantastically, but they only just got in front of New Zealand a lap later. For me, that was really close, but for the umpires, it was okay. And anyway, it's the umpire's decision that counts, not mine. And, well, there you go. Perfect judgment by Eric Heil. Nathan Aldred certainly slung it in there. And it's Eric Heil and the Germans winning the race. Great start to the day here in Sydney.
So it's Germany that gets the win, New Zealand second, and Switzerland finishing in third. We're now happy to go on board the German boat. Eric Heil is the skipper. Eric, congratulations. You guys pick up your first victory here ever in SailGP. The start was the key. It looked like you guys were late first, but was that part of the strategy to come in the way you did?
I mean, to be honest, we were a little too late. We expected to accelerate a little quicker, but the plan was good, and I mean, we have glamour conditions out here. I think best conditions we had for the whole season so far, and looking forward to the next race.
And Eric, is these conditions, do you think it levels the playing field? Are you finding it a bit easier sailing the F50 in these conditions?
I mean, the big foils, they help a lot compared to yesterday. It's quite loose on the HSPs, and the bigger foils, they make it and the maneuvers way easier for us to maneuver.
Well, Eric, it certainly looks like a good performance. I guess the start will be crucial again, so I suggest you go and maybe practice the start again, and look forward to seeing you in race 5.
Exactly, thank you.
So Germany's SailGP makes history in Sydney as they pick up their first win here in their first season of competition. What a start for them, and what a day in the Sydney Harbour. And look at this, we got royalty. That is rock and roll, registered out of London, and none other the boat of that man with the white cap on, Roger Taylor, the drummer, the world-famous Queen.
everyone, it's CJ and I am back for day 2 of racing here at the Australian Sail Grand Prix. I am here in the heart of Sydney where the weather is absolutely beautiful. This is what we call champagne sailing. I mean, it's so warm, the sun is out, and there is some really great breeze out here. It's around 12 knots and the wind is much more consistent than what we saw yesterday. Yesterday was very up and down, is very gusty, but today I see breeze all around the course, which is why the boats are foiling all the time. What a great way to start the day with Germany, one of the newest teams, getting a race win here. There was a really cool battle up at the top mark between Switzerland and Germany. We saw Switzerland take the upwind top right mark down, and I think they got stuck in a lull. I see on the right side of the course, it gets a little bit lighter as teams do their first jibe on the downwind, so they tend to fall off the foils there. Whereas the Germans, they took the top left-hand mark going downwind, and they managed to stay on the foils much longer, and that's where they passed Switzerland. And the Germans just did a really good all throughout that race, staying on the foils. They had a really great start. They had a different strategy than the other teams, and it all paid off. They ended up getting their first win here, and as a new team, I think they can be very, very proud of that. The Australians, they did not have a good start, but they ended up making up for it because they ended up with a middle position at the end of the race, and they're lucky because their competitors, Denmark, they only finished one spot ahead of them. So they really need to make sure to stay close with them throughout the rest of this race. I see the boats are getting ready. They're attaching with their shore team and they're preparing for the next race, drinking some Red Bull, having some water, and chatting with their coaches. So let's go ahead and watch this next race. It's going to be awesome.
Like thunder speaking. Flying carbon machines driven by the world's best. Yes, powered by nature, powered by nature. We are SailGP.
Season 4, Event 8 of 13, the KPMG Australia Sail Grand Prix Sydney, beautiful Sydney Harbour and Genesis Island, as the fans have turned out in mass to see the world's best sailors competing on these foiling F50s. And what a start, Stevie, to Sunday as everyone settled in for the all-important 5th and final fleet race.
Well, isn't it just great to see such fantastic sailing conditions out here on Sydney Harbour? And well, we see the leaderboard on the left there. New Zealand, Denmark and Australia have done a fantastic job. And New Zealand at the top of the leaderboard. It's interesting, actually, Todd, because I've had the Pete Burling on the phone, and he's saying how in these conditions the boat is pretty easy to sail. He likes the left-hand side of the course, and he likes what he sees Nathan Outridge doing in that Kiwi boat at the minute.
Well, at SailGP, progression is always at the forefront of making the sport more exciting while pushing the limits of what is possible. And no element has been scrutinized as much as the apparatus that allows the F50 to fly. With that in mind, the next generation of foiling is on its way with the development of the new T-foils coming in Season 5.
The foils on the F50 lift these epic machines out of the water, just like an aeroplane on a runway. Once it hits the right speed, it can take off to reach nearly 4 times the wind speed. SailGP Technologies is always innovating and improving the F50. A new T-foil is in development in pursuit of speed and resilience.
The T-foil will have metal components primarily at the junction, but basically you avoid the bend area, which was highly stressed carbon in the first generation set of foil. Could load the elbow region of the L foils in such a way that it would delaminate. So the new foils basically should be proof against that.
Not only will the titanium T-foils be more resilient, they will also be thinner.
One of the advantages in the T-foil is we no longer have a bend. We have a T-junction. So the foils can be thinner, and being thinner, they can go faster.
Real-world testing back in Dubai gave surprise results.
The HSB2 was taking off in 6.5 knots of wind. That was a significant improvement over the HSB1. And what the upshot of that is we can redesigned the foils to be smaller because they're performing better than we had originally anticipated, and that means they'll be faster.
The first iterations of those we hope to see in season 5, so we're looking to implement these changes in the fleet during that time, and obviously go through sea trials with the new equipment to make sure it's performing as it should be. A lot of this work would be done in the break from our last event in July to the first event in season 5, which will be in November. So yeah, exciting times.
So it's a case of, so you're saying there's a chance. Emily Nagel, there is still a chance for Spain to make the top 3, but they're going to need some help.
There is a chance, but it's pretty slim. They would need to win this final race, and they'd also need Australia to come last. On top of that, they would also need a poor performance from France, Germany, and Switzerland. So it's not impossible, but it's going to take a bit of luck.
So right now it's New Zealand, Denmark, and Australia in the top 3 spots, with Spain currently on the outside looking in, hoping for a little bit of miracle. And Australia currently sitting in 3rd place, a great spot to be, 8 points clear of 4th, so they should be out of danger. And we will see if Tom Slingsby can defend home water. Just a short time ago, Lisa Darmanin was able to get down next to the Flying Roo and get their thoughts as they prepare for the race here in race number 5 in Sydney Harbour.
Well, Tom, obviously that start was pretty challenging, but you managed to fight your way back through that one.
Yeah, I said before today I've really got to work on my starts, and it looked like I was concentrating on the opposite. We just got into the start area, and it was a lot lighter than our practice runs, and we just didn't do very well. Yeah, it didn't do a good job.
You guys are pretty good at bouncing back, and obviously really strong at being able to fight back through the fleet. What's the key there? Is it shift or is it boat handling?
I think it's shift and pressure, really. It's yeah, you got to time and you got to like mode the boat well. Like every time you get a good lift and pressure and it's really good, you got to really use that opportunity to, whether it's cross the course, cross your competitors, and then when it gets light, the whole goal is to just get to that next gust as quick as you can. But yeah, it's a tricky course, but it's a beautiful course. What a spot.
Well, you're sitting 3rd overall. Obviously, you've got to have a great one this race. Is there any different strategy or just get off that start line?
Yeah, I just want to start well. If we start well, we've seen what we can do in race 1 of this event. We start well, we're going to be hard to stop. So I got to focus on that.
Well, don't get too distracted by the crowd on Shark Island. They're cheering you guys on pretty hard.
Yeah, no, everyone's screaming, cheering our name. It's unbelievable to be out here. Like, what a venue for sailing.
Thanks, Tom, and good luck.
Awesome, thank you.
So Tom Slingsby and the Australians, remember they are the 3-time reigning and defending champions in SailGP, looking to make it 4 in a row as we are under 4 minutes away to the 5th and final fleet race before the event final. Let's get another conditions report with Lisa Darmanin down on the water.
Well, Todd, it is looking fantastic still. The wind has increased just slightly since we got out here. We're seeing around 28 kilometres per hour in the top gusts. But as Tom was saying, it is really puffy out here. There's real opportunity. And we're seeing so many boat-on-boat situations, positioning yourself well against other boats and staying in clear air. But that start box is a dangerous place to be. It's a lot lighter over there under the headland. So I think it'll be interesting to see how the team set up for this one. And yeah, another ripper day on Sydney Harbour.
Lisa, a follow-up question before we let you go, before the start of race 5. With the conditions the way they are right now, are there opportunities for passing still, taking into effect Genesis Island and what they're looking at with 3 minutes to go?
I definitely think from 2nd to 7th, there's definitely opportunities for overtaking, but that strength, if you lead at Mark 1, you can dictate where you go, you can make that decision, you can get clear air, and I think that's what we saw with the Germans, and traditionally that's what we see on a course like this. So Mark 1 first is a pretty nice place to be.
All right, thank you, Lisa. Get yourself into position as we all get ready for the 5th and final fleet race here at the KPMG Australia Sail Grand Prix. Sydney, Stevie, you said it before many a times, get the start, get the whole shot, and you can dictate to the rest of the fleet.
Yeah, I think it's all about that detail in the pre-start. Boat's relatively easy to sail today, so be accurate, get it right at the start.
Just over 2 minutes to go until the 5th and final fleet race here at the KPMG Australia Sail Grand Prix Sydney, and it is all to play for. Now, the top 3 teams Emily, are pretty safe, but as you pointed out, Spain still has an opportunity to make it happen. But we've talked about this throughout the season. Consistency has been the key, and Denmark has been a very consistent team.
Yeah, I've been really impressed with Denmark this weekend. They've performed brilliantly and sailed just so consistently without being conservative. That's always the risk. If you want to play it safe, you're a little bit conservative, but then you just never quite reach that top position.
And that crew list there, Tom Johnson, Luke Payne, 2 Australians racing on home water for the Danish team. They'll be pretty hungry to get it done. As we see the New Zealand crew there, of course, we've got an Australian driver driving that Kiwi boat, so we know Nathan Outridge is going to be pretty hungry. And then, well, with the Aussie in the Aussie boat in Tom Slingsby, it's all going to get pretty tasty, I think. I talk about momentum on a day like today. How well he is starting. Tom Slingsby's not happy with his starting. He wants to get that right. That top right-hand corner there is the area where there was less wind. The crews don't want to get stuck there and late, but you need to get a start right here if you want to win this race.
1 minute to go until the start of race number 5, the final race here in Sydney Harbour. And here we go. Put yourself in the right position, Stevie, and you are golden at Mark 1.
That's right. It's all about that timing back towards the line. Rockwell, Denmark look good. Australia, but where's Germany and Spain? We're going to expect to see them coming in bottom of screen. Here they come. This is the German approach. The late slingshot at the bottom of the line. It worked for them last time, but will they be found out? It's tight in above Genesis Island there. Look how congested it all is. Great Britain leading back here. Rockwell, Denmark, they're under pressure from New Zealand, but it's Germany. Look like they're playing their card at the bottom of the line. They spin in. Can Eric Heil get it right again? He's going to need to spin the boat pretty quick. Switzerland come down. New Zealand, Denmark are all tied up at the top of the line. It's all about timing now. Germany, 10 seconds to go. When will the crews start to wind it up? The fleet have judged it better this time. Spain, Germany, Switzerland at the bottom of the line. Look for the line to turn white, and it's going to be a clear start, is it? Oh, it's so early, I think, there maybe for Switzerland. They look like they were really, really early. I think they're over the line. France, Quentin de la Pierre, bullet out the gun on the blue boat, and he's going to lead us at Mark 1 from here.
So at mark number 1 of the 5th fleet race here in Australia, it is France that gets the whole shot. Spain on the inside and Canada and Phil Robertson on the outside.
Oh, that was so close. Switzerland and Germany got penalties in the pre-start, so they're going to need to be at the back of the pack before they go. As we see Quentin de la Pierre, he needed a good start. He got it. New Zealand are in the pack. Australia, again, a bad start for Slingsby. That was his last chance to practice that before the final, if he can get himself out of last place and guarantee that place, as Spain have had a good race so far.
Now, this could be some big news, having Australia at the back of the fleet and France in first. That might actually have a little bit of a switcheroo if we're not careful.
2-point difference right now, so France would need a lot of help. They'd need Australia to stay in the back. Stevie, you know Tom Slingsby's not going to stay there for long, but France, with their best start of the entire regatta, they lead at gate number 2, and it is Spain in 2nd, Canada in 3rd, and the USA in 4th. Remember, this really doesn't harm Denmark and Australia and New Zealand because those boats are so far back of them on points.
Well, that's right. As we see, look how tight it is setting up for the left turn here. Spain around, USA are going to go around clean, and Great Britain peel away. New Zealand have got a really tricky manoeuvre to do here. They've got to do a flip-flop jive. They've got to turn the boat, and then, oh, he's going to choose to go all the way across on New Zealand. Nathan Outridge, last-minute change of mind, I think, there. Sets up for a right turn, but Australia, they're up to 8th. That should be enough for them at the moment, but they're not making it easy.
Yeah, 8th would see them through to the final, but if they lose any more positions, that will see France in and them out.
So there it is right now, France in 4th place. Denmark would be in the final, as would be New Zealand, and Australia would be in 3rd. Keep an eye on that on the left side of your screen. We'll keep updating that as it is appropriate. But right now, it would be Denmark, New Zealand, and Australia. No surprise there, Stevie. They've all been consistent throughout the weekend.
Yeah, they're just very good at doing the simple things. They do the good manoeuvres, and we see here, if you do get a good start, it's a lot easier. France are sailing the boat well. Spain, look how locked in that platform is. How stable is it? How much is it going up and down out the water? That shows you how smooth they're sailing, and Spain looks really locked in here. They're going fast aboard that boat, but they're not managing to make the gains on France that they'd like to, and you can expect in a minute the French to get right in their way.
Yes, bang on, mate.
So France trying to make things interesting with Spain sitting in second place. Remember, Emily Hagel pointed out that if Spain gets the win and gets a lot of help, there is a chance or a pathway for them to get into the final, but it's going to be very, very tricky to keep Tom Slingsby out of home waters in another final.
We see right-hand side of our screen, that's the Aussies there, and Tom Slingsby's managed to find some space, even though he's in the pack, and they are just moving that rowboat through the fleet so quickly. Even when they're in the pack, they seem to be able to sail that little bit faster than other boats around them. They're always gaining on those boats near them, and that's what they need to do now, because at the moment, he cannot get that green boat off the start line.
Quentin Delapierre and the French now have moved right next to Diego Botín and Spain, so they're having a little match race of their own. Meanwhile, crunching the numbers still is Australia moving up. They are sitting in 7th, 1 spot ahead of New Zealand, Germany, and Switzerland. Remember, pre-start penalties have them in the back, and maybe the best race so far of the weekend for Taylor Canfield and the Americans as they currently sit in 4th.
Yeah, the US is doing a nice job at the moment here. Very disappointing race 4, but they look good, and look at that race to the final.
And still holding steady, Denmark, New Zealand and Australia will be through to the top 3 if these positions hold.
Isn't this, Stevie, a typical Tom Slingsby setup? They don't really perform great. He wins race number 1, 2nd in race number 2, then 4th in race number 3. Not a great performance for them in 4 as they finish 5th, but he does just enough to get to that final, and then he turns on the magic.
This is the umpires. Penalty Spain, relative Canada, not giving room at the mark.
Oh, that was a really tight moment there. Phil Robertson absolutely maximising it. Spain need to drop back behind Canada here. Costly for them if they're to have any hope. But at the moment, to be fair, Tom Slingsby's not making any mistakes. And yeah, pretty much classic Tom Slingsby. But you see the frustration in that interview, and he really didn't hit the start very well on that one at all. And he'll be frustrated. We know how Tom can get into himself. He can be very hard on himself. He needs to probably just take the weight off his shoulders. He's got the pressure of that home crowd. We know how fast they can sail the boat. Look how smoothly they're setting up there. Jason Waterhouse, flight controller, always renowned for pushing that ride height really high. Carl Langford, the wing trimmer. They get the most out of the boat, but they've got to put themselves a couple of metres further forward at the gun.
And if they do get through to this final, they need to work out how to start pretty quickly.
So the French having their best race so far. Remember, they started off the regatta with 2 5th-place performances before a 3rd in race number 3. And, of course, in the last race, they finished in 9th place. So they're going to really have to look back at race number 4, Stevie, as the race that kind of did them in that 9th place. If they could have moved up even the top 6, they would probably be in a position now to take that 3rd and final transfer position into the event final.
Yeah, and as you said, I mean, they're sailing so consistently at the moment. It looks like it could be another 4th overall for them, barring slip-ups for the Australians. And it's just those details. Tight moment here. New Zealand has the right of way. They set up to manoeuvre, though. They're going to turn right in front of the Australians. This could be a little dress rehearsal for some manoeuvres in the final itself. Is New Zealand comfortably ahead? They are. Should the boats overlap, New Zealand are going to need to be careful. It's tight coming into this gate. Just judged perfectly by the Kiwi crew. If they could make it down to that left turn, as we see now, France boosting out in front of the Canadians. The Canadians have had a dirty weekend. Australia now, they're suffering. That's the wing wash, the disturbed wind from the New Zealand boat. That's not helping Australia.
Not helping them, but they are still holding on to the position. Now, for France, they might not make this final, but overall, their position will be brilliant for the season scoreboard, as this would see them jump ahead of USA and Great Britain overall.
Quentin Delapierre really anticipating some big wins down here. They do quite well in that. He'll have to look to the next event, which will be New Zealand. Of course, that coming up at the ITM New Zealand Sail Grand Prix in Christchurch. Boy, right now, Stevie, they look smooth, they look fast.
Yeah, and we just heard them. We just heard a call from Kevin Pepinay saying un peu plus. He wants them to fly a little bit higher. He wants Jason Saunders to get the boat a little bit higher out of the water. He's like, come on, we've got this. Let's push this French boat as hard as we can. And we see on the right-hand side of the screen how high that French boat is as they set up for a manoeuvre. Just the tempo went up a little bit there. Slight mistake on the French boat, but you can afford that when you're that far ahead, as we can see the battle, the North American battle, Todd. Canada against the USA, as we see the battle of the Tasman Sea between the 2 Australian drivers. Tom Slingsby and Nathan Outeridge are tight. They're locked together here. Right of way with Australia, but can the New Zealand boat put the pressure on and send some disturbed wind up towards that Australian boat? Again, dress rehearsal for the final taking place in front of our eyes.
And this is the battle for 7th and 8th. A boat we have not talked about here in race number 5 is Denmark. They are quietly riding a very clean race. They currently sit in 5th place, and they will probably go in as the #1 seed. Not that the points matter, Stevie, but the consistency of Nikolai Sehested and that squad here in Sydney Harbour has been amazing.
We rarely talk about Nikolai, though, do we? It's like the silent assassin.
The Great
They just
Dane.
get the job done, but the trouble is, you've got to go out and you've got to shoot the bullet in the final and take that win, haven't you? So Nikolai maybe needs to be a little bit louder come the final, but yeah, they sail the boat superbly, slick, consistent, and they're doing a brilliant job here to set themselves up for another final.
And while the points might not matter, going into a final with 40 points is definitely a confidence boost you need when you're going up against Nathan Outridge and Tom Slingsby.
Here we go, real match race manoeuvre going here. Slingsby trying to push the Kiwis off the course. New Zealand can't manoeuvre. If they do manoeuvre, they need to be certain of getting ahead of the Australians. Now they can. They've got relief from the boundary. Tom Slingsby's got to let them go. They've got room on that boundary. Oh, it's a tight moment. Slingsby pushing it hard here. He's going to ask the question of the umpires. But I think that they should have had protection from the boundary on New Zealand there. Well, we've got a bit of industrial language coming off the Australian boat. Apologies for that. Frustration pushing in there.
On the final leg of race number 5, France shows their true colors as they make the turn and head to the finale. It will be the French getting the win here in race number 5, but this could be a little too late as their case to make it into the event final is going to come up just a little bit short. The French win race 5 in Sydney. Canada with a nice bounce back after having mechanical issues yesterday. It looks like they're going to hold on for 2nd place, and the USA will come in with their best finish of the weekend, finishing in 3rd.
Nice finish for the US crew there. Good confidence booster, and what a tough weekend for the Canucks. I mean, they've had a really tough day yesterday, tough first race today, but that's more of what we're used to seeing.
We might get like a 6 race.
And a better performance here by the USA team, taking 3rd. They've really struggled this weekend to be consistent around the course and get through all their maneuvers, but some solid improvements there.
And you see Spain come through. Denmark will get 4th. Emirates Great Britain will get 5th. The Spanish, as Emily pointed out, Stevie, they needed to win that race and get some help. They were up there for a while, but they just couldn't stay up front, and they'll finish in 6th place.
Yeah, nearly, but not enough. But to be fair, those top 3 teams, as we see here, New Zealand coming across the line, they have been the class, and they are the top 3 teams, probably, I'd say, now on the leaderboard for the season. So they are consistently the top performers, and in these kind of, well, what can only be described as perfect sailing conditions, really, on Sydney Harbour. Tom Slingsby was doing a pretty good job of telling us how good Sydney Harbour is. You can tell he owns a property alongside it. Sound a bit like a real estate agent.
And with Australia getting 8th there, that does put them through to the final with the Kiwis and the Danish.
So Germany comes through in 9th, Switzerland in 10th. Pre-race penalties cost them as we get set for the event final here in Sydney. So 5 fleet races are now complete, and the event final has been set. It will be Denmark, New Zealand, and Australia. And coming up just short will be the French, just missing out, but they sailed perfectly on that 5th and final race. If they could have just performed a little bit better in race number 4, Stevie, I think it would have been a different situation. As we take a look at the standings after the 5 fleet races, Rockwell, Denmark, and Nikolai Sehested get the 40 points. They are in. 37 points for Nathan Outridge as he steps on board for Peter Burling in 2nd, and Tom Slingsby on home waters defends. They are into the final yet again after missing the last one, only the first time they did not make the final in its season number 4. So it's Denmark, New Zealand, and Australia for one race, winner take all. France misses out by just 2 points. And we go on board with Quentin Delapierre. Always happy to visit with you, Quentin. Again, you guys are consistent. You were there at the very end, but you came up short on points. Take us through that last race. What was the difference between race 5 and race 4?
What was the difference? For sure, the start was way better, and I did an enforced error on the race 5 with the unlock board on the starboard port type.
So it's those details, Quentin. You know you can win the races. You must be starting to feel Frustrated with finishing fourth, but also happy to find that consistency, and you're really moving up the overall leaderboard now.
Yeah, moving up, but I truly think that this team can do way better, and it's, as you said, there's a lot of frustration because we can win races by miles, and we did unforced error or unlucky stuff sometimes.
So, Contan, you turn your attention now to Christchurch, New Zealand, and I got to think you're hoping for big wins again and an opportunity to get yourself into that final.
Thank you, Stevie.
Contan, thank you so much for your time. We appreciate it, and we will see you in Christchurch next month. Well, disappointing for the French, Stevie. They come up short just 2 points. We're talking about 1.2 points. But really, you look at race number 4, and he talks about that unforced error. Had they moved up 2 positions, finished in 7th or 6th in race 4, they would be in the final.
Coulda, woulda, shoulda, Todd. It's been said a few times before. And yeah, it's the details, isn't it? It's not easy out there. If it was easy, we'd all be doing it. I'd be out there, you'd be out there, we'd be having a lovely time in Sydney. It's not easy. These are the best sailors in the world. You get punished for any mistake. And unfortunately for the French, there's just been a couple too many in the last few events.
So the event final is set at the KPMG Australia Sail Grand Prix in Sydney. It will be Australia, New Zealand, and Denmark.
And it was all on in that last start, as all the teams were much closer to the line. The Spanish and German teams tried the last-minute start again. Didn't quite work out as well, but look at the French at the line, just at the gun, with pace.
Well, it was a real slingshot start there by the French. They were aggressive with Phil Robertson. Phil Robertson's not someone that's unused to being aggressive on that Canadian boat as well. And we just see how powerful leading at the mark is, and that, I think, is going to be the story of the final. Who can hit Mark 1 first? Because once you get out in front and start making your own decisions, as France are here, you just get to be able to sail the boat faster. You avoid this kind of congestion. Great move by Phil Robertson, aggressive. He's entitled to room inside. Spain have to keep clear. And well, we've talked about Canada and Spain a few times this year, haven't we? And that was nothing new. Well, we might well be talking about New Zealand against Australia. There's going to be tight moments around this course, but it's all, for me, going to be about hitting that last 10 seconds and leading at Mark 1.
As Stevie says, that start is all important, and it gets you out in front. And here it is in the numbers. The French and the Canadians led. They had plenty of space to get full speed. Hence, 55 kilometers an hour average speed for France. And both the French and Canadians managed to foil for 100% of the time. While further down the pack, in the middle of all the chaos, they're a lot slower. They're having to do more maneuvers, 13 maneuvers for the New Zealand team compared to 9 for the French. It just makes such a big difference having that space to play and have room to do what you want.
The numbers certainly do not lie as we get ready for the event final here in beautiful Sydney Harbour in New South Wales. Fans getting themselves into position, enjoying the glorious sunshine and absolute perfect racing conditions down under.
Hey everyone, I'm back, and what a fantastic second race of the day that was. The French had a spectacular start, and they managed to foil all throughout the race course, and the rich just got richer. They extended their lead, and no one was able to touch them. I'm sure they're a bit disappointed to not make the finals, especially because this time last year, their team actually won this event with a clean slate. They got bullets all across the board on every race. So I'm sure they're a bit sad, but obviously it's a great way for them to finish their event here in Sydney. We're just about to go into our final race of the day, where we have 3 boats: Australia, Denmark, and New Zealand. This is honestly what I predicted, who I predicted to make the finals. The Australians, they're the hometown heroes. They're the ones that everyone was rooting for, and they obviously have the most hours here in their hometown sailing and the most hours on the F50 itself. The Kiwis, although they have a new driver on board with Nathan Outeridge, Nathan is a very experienced driver in this league because he did drive for the Japanese boat season 1 and on. So although he's new, he does have a lot of experience, and in a venue like this, experience pays. The Danish, we were just hooked up to their boat, and they all looked super happy to make this final. They're all getting ready, getting their boat ready and getting themselves ready for this final race, but they have stayed consistent all throughout this season. They've gotten 2s, 2nds, and 3rds, but they've never won. So I'm sure they have a whole lot of people who are rooting for them to get their first win ever in SailGP. I know I am. I think I really want to see Denmark take this win. The wind has stayed the same throughout today. It's around 12 knots and easy foiling all throughout the race course. So I'm super excited to watch this last race, and let's see who takes home the win here at the Australia Sail Grand Prix.
Carbon machines driven by the world's best. Yes, powered by nature, powered by nature. We are SailGP.
It doesn't get much better than this in Sydney Harbour in New South Wales. Lachlan Murdoch has brought his boat to watch the world's best sailors compete in this perfect setting in an amazing Coliseum-style venue. Well, they put themselves into position as all the super yachts get just on the outskirts of the course, and there it is, the course here for one more race. It'll be the event final. Competing will be New Zealand, Australia, and Denmark, and this really is a water sports paradise. Give yourself a shot at wing foiling if you ever get the opportunity. Maybe Stevie Morrison can coach you.
We came down to do a little wing foiling session. We actually had a legend here. We had Ami, who was Mr. Armstrong. So to me, I was a little bit starstruck to get to meet the man who's created these foils.
Just sent out 10 rigs of gear for the SailGP sailors. They were out there doing a little kind of warm-up race for them. I mean, beautiful day on the harbour here in Sydney. And yeah, we set them up with a bunch of wing gear, and it's just fun for them. But for the Inspire program here at SailGP, they get kids down, they sail the Wasp, they sail the wing gears, and they get to mix and mingle with the world's best sailors. It's such an awesome program, and we're just stoked to be part of it. So yeah, it's just a fantastic way to get involved in the sailing, community. And there's a massive number of, sailors who want to get into foiling. Winging is the cheapest and easiest way to do it. So for first steps to understand the concept for kids, winging is so great. And we've got, as you can see, truckloads of gear. The kids have been, out here giving it a go, and perfect.
Slightly different, good to try a little bit different foils. You have so much time sailing that it's trying to carve out between the time you're training, the time you're racing, the time to actually go out and wing. For me, I haven't spent that many days. Whether you're ripping around an F50 or going out and turning right, we got to Hobart in the Great Race. It's a pretty amazing place to sail.
Sydney, 24, SailGP. If you're not here, you're nowhere.
That looks like a lot of fun. Well, the next generation of the world's best sailors took to the course here in Sydney with Wasp Racing Program taking to the harbour. And it's all part of SailGP's Inspire program on full display.
Here on Sydney Harbour alongside the F50s, Inspire Racing is back. As part of the Inspire program, we have 19 young sailors from all across Australia racing in Wasps and putting their foiling skills to the test. The conditions couldn't be better for some fast and furious slalom racing in front of the fans on Genesis Island. The next generation is stacked with talent with a pool of national and world champions, all with dreams of taking their sailing to the next level. Taking the win here in Sydney for the second year in a row was Louis Tilley.
Wow, and the sailors had an incredible time. Great conditions out on the water as we see these super slow-mo shots of these high-performance racing craft. And well, it's been a brilliant, tight racing. It went to the wire. And in fact, to take that victory in front of home fans was spectacular. He got it done well. He was pretty happy with the job he did. Second year in a row, the celebration was good. Perhaps a little room for improvement on that, but everything else was picture perfect.
So the final is set. On the left, you've got Australia. In the middle, you've got Denmark. And on the right, you've got New Zealand. A lot of great stories here. as Australia is back into the final after missing the last one. Denmark has been extremely consistent. They get their driver back, the Great Dane, Nikolai Sested. And on the right, New Zealand missing their main driver in Peter Burling, but Nathan Outteridge happy to step on board. So we are set for an absolute, as they say down here, an absolute cracker with under 7.5 minutes to go. So in the final, some familiar faces, Stevie Morrison, and some very talented drivers. And we gotta start with Tom Slingsby. He's done a little bit of everything.
He's done it all, and he's, of course, the most successful driver in SailGP history, and he loves these finals, but he's not starting well today. Can he turn things around in this little break? I imagine Ben Durham, the Australian coach, is going to have a big part to play in that. But for me, it's all about where Tom Slingsby gets to Mark 1. If he gets to Mark 1 first, it's probably the last the other fleet are going to have seen of him.
So Tom Slingsby back in the final after missing the last one here on home waters, and we now go on board with the Australians. Tom putting his boat into position. Tom, welcome back to the final. Little added pressure developing, or defending home waters, I should say, here in Australia.
Yeah, there's plenty of pressure on, but yeah, we just got to focus on ourselves. If we get a good start, we'll be in the match. But yeah, we've had 2 bad starts today, so we've got to really try to get this one.
Kyle, I don't know if you can hear us there, but how are the conditions for the setup? Are you feeling like this Australian boat's fast enough to win it? Not sure you got your microphone on, Kyle.
Good. I think I can hear. Yeah, sorry. Go again. On. No. Yeah. Yeah, no, I think we've the speed's been good. We've been getting off the start line 30 seconds late and managing to work back into the race. So I think if we can get off the line cleanly, I think we've got the speed to sail away, hopefully.
And last question, Tom, it's a tough one, but as a 3-time reigning defending champions, is this the race in Season 4 where you get the win?
Look, I'm not going to say we're going to smoke it, but I'd love to smoke them. Yeah, look, it would be unbelievable to win here in front of our home fans, so we're going to do our very best.
All right, appreciate the time, Tom. Wish you the best of luck as we get ready to go to the final. It will be Nathan Outteridge standing in for Pete Burling. And again, Steve, we talk about experience. Nathan Outteridge, he's obviously known as the Wind Whisperer. He's got a few medals on his CV as well.
Well, he's got plenty of medals, hasn't he? Yeah, 2 Olympic medals, so many world champions. I don't know where he manages to keep all the trophies, but it's SailGP finals. He's been there, he's done it before. And let's talk about the New Zealand crew as well. He's come in as driver, but that's some crew to have a new driver come in. Big set of shoes to fill, but he's well supported, and that crew is on form. They're 2 in a row, they're used to winning. They're going to want to make it 3 in a row. And well, again, Nathan can deliver that. He's done a good job coming in this weekend and should only be getting better.
Well, we talk about the pressure on the shoulders of Tom Slingsby developing and defending the waters here in Australia. For an Aussie to step on board a Kiwi boat, Nathan Outteridge, these guys are used to winning. I got to wonder, does Pete Burling tell you, you break it, you buy it?
I haven't heard from Pete today, but I'm sure he'd tell me to send it, so looking forward to the race, guys.
Yeah, well, Nathan, Pete's been texting me, and he says that it's all about the start, and it should be easy if you lead at Mark 1. The last thing I'd ask, though, is you've got a big friends with Tom Slingsby, but is there a little bit of extra hunger to make sure the Australians that wins here today is you?
That'd be nice, wouldn't it, Stevie? We'd love to do that, and I'd love to get a win for Pete, so looking forward to getting to this one.
Nathan, appreciate the time. We will let you get about your business as we come up on 3:30 to go before the event final between Denmark, Australia, and New Zealand. And maybe the most consistent driver throughout this weekend, the Great Dane. Nikolai Sested, Stevie, doesn't have as many medals and world championships, but this guy has really come into his own, doing quite a great job.
Well, during race 5, you talked about how we haven't really talked about him, and they are just so consistent. They're getting the job done. They're making the finals. They keep saying it's all about San Fran, but for me, Sested needs to get a win on the board to get that confidence up.
And just a few short moments ago, Lisa Darmanin catching up with a Great Dane, Nikolai Sested.
Well, congratulations, Nikolai. Great way to return after an event off, making the final at the top of the leaderboard.
Yeah, it's obviously good to be back. I missed it. It's hard to watch from home, but no, we're sailing pretty well today. I think it's all credit to the team sailing good boat handling, but let's see. I'm pretty sure Australia and New Zealand got something in the pocket for us now.
Well, they looked pretty aggressive in that last race, getting into a bit of match race. Maybe that will play in your favour.
Yeah, we wouldn't mind that actually if they're keen for that, but let's see. I think they're going to stick to themselves and just let the boat speed do the talking. I think actually all three of us are pretty happy to let the boat speed do the talking right now in these conditions.
And obviously it changes when you go into a 3-boat final. Do you think there'll still be opportunities for overtaking, or is it all in that start once again?
No, there will be opportunities. It's pretty shifty out here and a lot of up and downs in the breeze. It just depends how you get off the line a lot if you're in the controlling position. Yeah, let's see how much risk they want to take, the other guys. I think we're pretty keen for some risk.
And obviously we've had a lot of light winds recently, but does this feel pretty nice to sail in?
Yeah, this is super good. It's been a long time since we were really just being able to push the boat around like we like it, and it's definitely something that suits us well. So now we're happy with these conditions.
Well, you're the king of consistency, but I'm sure it'll be nice to actually win an event.
Well, yeah, it wouldn't be bad, would it? But it's all about San Fran. But now for sure, we're going to push for a win here. We're not going to play the easy road. Let's see what it's. I think it's anyone's game out of these three teams right now. I think anyone can win that final.
Well, enjoy the racing and good luck, Nikolai.
Thanks, Lisa.
All right, so Emily, with 1:20 to go now before the event final, what did you glean off of those interviews? Are we looking at a match race between Outeridge and Slingsby, and the Great Dane's going to slide in there and take the win?
No, I think we're going to have a three-way battle. It's easy to sell the Dane short because he doesn't come from the same Olympic background as these two, but he has heaps of experience. Both him and Tom Johnson have 2 laps of the planet under their belt. And I'll tell you what, it's not easy driving in the Southern Ocean, so I think Slingsby and Outeridge have their hands full dealing with him as well.
All right, final 50 seconds of preparation. Stevie, what's being talked about on the boat, and they've already made up their strategy of where they're going to want to be?
Totally different game now. There's a lot more space out here on the start line. We can already see the boats a lot further apart. I like the fact that Tom Slingsby was the last boat back and he's leading the fleet here. The rest of the day he's been behind the boats. He's been the one trying to find an opportunity, whereas now he's in control. But how's this battle going to work out? It is aggressive out here. They're all saying they're close to the top of the line. That means advantage Outeridge and New Zealand for me here. But it's all about hitting that red line. Down towards the bottom end of our screen is where our data tells us is the favourite place to start, and it's all about acceleration. Denmark look like they're going to be trapped out. They're going to miss the start here. Slingsby slut the door on him at the top, but it's all about the acceleration. Australia are going to be slow. Denmark are slow. Who's going to be on time? Oh, I think New Zealand are over early as well. Oh, what a start. What a mistake by all of the crews. What a mistake there. Australia early, New Zealand early. Denmark will lead at Mark 1. Oh, a huge error there. Now, how did Denmark play this? They're going to want to make sure they get to Mark 1 at top speed. No rush for Sehested here. No rush. Get the boat sailing fast and now send it down towards Mark 1 hard. It's going to be advantage Sehested when we get to Mark 1. He needs to get past New Zealand before New Zealand are clear to go. Australia are clear. They're out behind now. New Zealand are clear. We're up and racing with 3 boats as they come into Mark 1.
At mark number 1, it is the Great Dane and Rockwell, Denmark that take the lead. Pre-start penalties issued to the Kiwis and the Aussies.
Oh, they said they were hungry for a bit of risk. All 3 of them had way too much risk for breakfast on that start line, that is for sure. But now advantage Sehested, perfect first manoeuvre. He'll be lined up for this bottom gate, and it's all about the decision. Do you turn left or do you turn right at gate number 2?
There is no room for error out there. All 3 teams doing over 60 kilometers an hour, but these maneuvers are crucial. Look how close these teams are.
Full 7 legs here, the event final at the KPMG Australia Sail Grand Prix in Sydney Harbour, and Denmark is gifted the lead at mark number 1. Now, can there be some overtaking, or can the Great Dane run away from the Kiwis and the Aussies?
Well, Denmark have got the first choice, and they're going to save a manoeuvre by going straight here. New Zealand and Australia are probably going to split away right. It's advantage for Australia. This is a tricky situation for New Zealand now. They're going to be following the Aussies. And, well, Denmark, expect them to head back towards the other 2 boats fairly soon. But it's advantage Denmark. That's a big lead at the bottom gate, and traditionally that left turn has done pretty well here as New Zealand already come back towards this side of the course, and all the boats are trying to find their own clear wind.
It's a good moment here for the Danish. The breeze is slightly lighter on the top half of the screen, but only just.
Well, our ladder lines here, Todd, are showing actually a lead change and advantage Australia now. When they turn the boat here and head back across towards Denmark, the right of way is with the Danish, but it appears to be a gain early on the leg for the Aussies. But will it play out that way? Denmark's looked pretty fast there. Raz pushing the ride height really hard on board that Danish boat. They are ahead, but it's only very, very marginal, and there's plenty of race left here.
Leg 3 of 7, Denmark out in front as we go down on the water. Lisa Darmanin, in your unbiased opinion, whose position do you like the most?
I do like where Denmark is headed. That has traditionally been the right way to go. But, you know, there's so much going on here, boat-on-boat situations. New Zealand and Australia are in a battle here, but I think this is going to favour Denmark.
I think what I'm seeing is I'm seeing a few mistakes actually out there. There's definitely no one sailing the boat perfectly cleanly just yet. There's a nice lead for Sehested here. No surprise to say the Aussies aren't going away. Right of way is with Australia here. If it's tight, Sehested needs to be confident he's ahead. Catch her down there. She's just coming up. She was watching the Australian boat to make sure that all's clear, and they are clear. So as we head up this leg, it's going to stay tight for the Australians right now. Stay in the match. Keep breathing down the neck of that Danish crew. Denmark have never won a final. They're going to feel that pressure, and the Aussies are going to keep plying it.
And at the moment, the Danish team do have the highest average speed, 51.1 kilometers an hour average, but that's only 1 km an hour faster than the Australians behind them.
Denmark are heading towards less wind up there. That water, look how glassy it looks up there compared to where Australia are. I think Slingsby's in better wind, and he's going to be on the inside coming into the gate at the top here. We know there's only going to be meters in it, but I feel like Denmark have put a lot of risk on themselves at the moment.
Maybe we can tack inside them, can't we? Go have a look.
You can, Tom. You can tack inside. It's going to be tight here. Tom's looking to set up for the left turn. The left turn's been favoured here. Watch for the Aussies to sling inside. And it's Slingsby. He's pushing it hard. He's got to manoeuvre out the Danish way here. That's really close. Maybe too close. Oh, that was really tight. What judgment by Slingsby. It's clear. No penalty there from the Australians. They judged that to perfection. What a move.
So Australia looking for their first win in Season 4. Will it come on home waters? It's Australia, Denmark, and New Zealand as they make the way through gate number 3.
The Danish just looked a little bit wobbly down there. It's really close. Now they're locked in. Now they're the hunter. Maybe a position Sehested's happier with here. But as we get towards the boundary here, Denmark, if they can get themselves inside, they might be able to force the Aussies to move first. And they do. Slingsby has to jibe away. He's turning the boat away from Denmark first. And Denmark are pushing as wide as possible on the racetrack. They want to try and make the next gate with no more manoeuvres.
So it's down to the bottom of the course, back up around Genesis Island, then halfway back down, and then it'll be the sprint to the finish and the title.
Yeah, and right now, where Slingsby's positioned himself, the wind's coming from the top left-hand corner of our screen, and Slingsby's going to slowly press the disturbed wind down onto the Danish, and if he can just move forward maybe 3 or 4 more meters, he'll start to really affect the breeze getting to the Danish.
This was just a moment ago. This was the mark where Chief Umpire Craig Mitchell did not penalize the Australians.
And they were comfy there. You can see there was probably a couple of meters in it. It was tight, but well, it should be tight, shouldn't it? It's supposed to be tight, it's supposed to be close, and Slingsby saw an opportunity and he bit their hand off for it. Look at that judgment on board the boat. As we see it, bottom right-hand corner of our screen, it's the Australians turning up to the upwind leg.
And we'll see if that turns out to be the move of the match. It's the Danes and the Australians splitting the course here. We'll see what Nathan Outridge and the Kiwis decide to do.
Look at that, 0 seconds in it at gate 4 as we're on the final upwind leg of the race. This will be decisive. Who's found the most wind at the bottom of the course?
Now we do have a flip-flop here from the previous bottom gate, with now the Danish going the left-hand side of the course, which did pay for the Australians on the previous.
Rockwool, Denmark, currently sitting in second place on the water. Australia out in front. Remember, this all started after pre-start penalties were issued to Australia and New Zealand, and the Great Dane Nikolai Sehested took advantage of it. Now he's in for the fight of his life as he goes head-to-head with Tom Slingsby.
Big mistake there. They turned too close to that red and white marker, and they had to do a slow manoeuvre. They're some 15 kilometres slower out of that, and look at that 100-metre loss in the blink of an eye. Unforced error. That's going to be costly for the Danish, and that could well hand the victory here to the hometown hero, Tom Slingsby.
Ride this all the way. Yeah, copy.
Just so much less pressure on the Aussies now. It was tight on that upwind leg before. There was nothing, but look at the fans there. Plenty of the locals wanting that, and right now Denmark, well, they're now fighting to hold on to second from New Zealand. One mistake and you get absolutely hammered for it.
Is there time for Denmark and New Zealand to catch the ruse, Stevie, or is this going to be a situation where they're going to have to rely on a Tom Slingsby mistake?
It's that. It's absolutely that. This is now it's only if the Australians make a mistake that they lose this from here. They've got total control. We know to the left-hand side of our screen there's better wind.
I wonder if we have to go back.
Yeah, there you go. Carl Langford wants to watch the boats behind. Slingsby's happy to split. Decision, slight disagreement there on board the Australian boat. But there you go. New Zealand starts to follow Australia. And what are Denmark going to do?
And turning.
So New Zealand makes the turn. Denmark now makes the turn as they all head to this last gate here at the top of the course. Lisa Darmanin, what are you seeing? What do you think is going to happen here in the final portions of this race?
I think it's quite tricky decision for Australia because they are going into lighter pressure compared to their competitors, but this means that they just do one turn and that they can head to that mark and they got one more dive to the finish. So it was really balancing pressure maneuvers, but compared to Denmark on the last lap, they've managed to have a really nice smooth ride through that light patch and stay on the foil. So I think they will have the commanding lead at the top here.
Look at this, here comes Denmark.
It's really tight, right of way with Australia, but if Denmark can get close to that circle, Sehested might have the opportunity to do exactly what Tom Slingsby did to him. Is Denmark going to try and sling it inside? No, he's not. He deems Australia to be too far ahead. There's going to be a split, but big advantage to the Australians as Nikolai Sehested chooses to follow. He yields. Oh, it's so tight though, Todd, here. Any mistake now, this is a one-mistake race. If Australia misses the next manoeuvre.
I'm crossing. Yeah, my wheel.
So was it checkmate for the Australians with one more to go? It'll be the Mark 6, and they'll make the sprint for the finish line.
And we just got to make sure they don't go inside us.
Trying to protect that inside line.
Just got to make sure they keep the speed in. They've got to judge the line to this final turning mark. As we see there, Mark 6, they've got to make sure they can do that. Will Sehested try and dive inside? I don't think Australia are going to make a mistake here. There you go, no, perfect from them. Carl Langford's happy with it, and he's putting that disturbed wind back onto Denmark. I don't see any passing lane from here, but what a comeback by Rockwool Denmark.
So now the sprint is on for the finish line in the title at the KPMG Australia Sail Grand Prix Sydney, and it's Australia by a full boat length. They have finished in second, third, second, third, second, and seventh. But here on home waters, Tom Slingsby works his magic. Hocus pocus, Australia takes the win in Sydney. And the party begins on Genesis Island. Denmark finishes in second. New Zealand will take third.
Never in doubt, never in doubt. Well, that was a messy old start. What a race we had there. There was a lot of tension in that pre-start, a lot of mistakes during the race. But when it counts, Tom Slingsby and those Australians have got it done.
So it's Australia now that gets to celebrate at their home regatta, the KPMG Australia Sail Grand Prix Sydney. And for the first time in season 4, it is the Australians that get the overall victory.
Look at that means a lot.
What a final race, and it did come down to the final leg. Australia does get the win. Denmark finishes in second. The Kiwis will take some top points as well as they make it into the event final, as we now go on board with New Zealand and their driver, Nathan Outeridge. Nathan, you're back in the event final again. Take us through that start. What happened between you and the Australians, and in your opinion, was that the turning point?
Yeah, it was obviously not the start we were wanting there. We kind of got ourselves into a great spot and then just pulled the trigger slightly too early. And honestly, we didn't realise the Aussies were over at the time, but we had them on toasting, should have left them, and we had to bear away to avoid them. And then obviously we had to let the Denmark team through. And yeah, it was pretty tough after that. We just kept fighting, trying to find some options, but yeah, unfortunately, it wasn't to be today.
No, and it was a pretty hard one. I don't, Blair, have you got your headset on the water there at the moment? Obviously, getting Nathan to come in and join the crew, it's a big ask for a new driver to come in and join you, but how happy is this New Zealand crew looking ahead to a home event next up?
Well, as we just said, it's good overall points for the team for the season. And, you know, Pete's going to have to come back and show that he's better than me. So we're looking forward to getting back to Christchurch in a couple of weeks. And, yeah, I'm sure Pete's going to be fired up to be back on the boat. And, you know, it was a pleasure for me this weekend to sail with this team. They're such a good group of people. And Blair kept me honest all day and all yesterday. And, you know, I thank them for that opportunity. And hopefully I'll be back driving a boat in the future.
Yeah, we look forward to Nathan, and it's great to have you back in there in the winner's circle. Nathan Outteridge and in New Zealand doing a great job in third place and making the event final. And as they said, Stevie, it was a great chance for them to move up the ladder, but they don't really do any damage because they finished right behind Australia, so they will take some top points and stay in second place overall. Oh, what a race. Take a breath, and let's take a look back at the event final here in Sydney.
And let's look at that chaos of a start. So it was pretty clear early out from about 30 seconds that the Australians were going to try and take out the Danish and stop them from starting, leaving heaps of space for the Kiwis. But their timing was just a little bit too off. A hair over the line was a big deal for the Kiwis and the Australians, who then had to get behind the Danish, which almost set the Danish up for a brilliant race.
Yeah, well, it's pretty rare that you see the Rolex best time start being 1.3 seconds after the gun for the Danish there, but that's because the other two boats were that little bit too early there. And, well, as we saw, lead at Mark 1 should really get the deal done. And for Denmark, they made every move quite good, but here, aggressive from Tom Slingsby. He probably put it in the umpire's hands. He pushed the rules to the absolute limit there. I think he was clean. Most importantly, the umpires thought he was clean. That accuracy of maneuver was the race-winning moment right there. It was only a metre or so in it. No huge mistake by Sehested, but you only need to make a very small one. Open the door for Slingsby. He's happy to walk straight through it, especially when he's on home turf.
What a beautiful day here in Sydney Harbour as we bring things to a conclusion.
And looking at the numbers, we can see just how close it was. Australia with the shortest distance, the Danish with the most fly time, and the Kiwis with the highest average speed, and all identical maneuvers. But at the end of the day, it came down to who could sail the least amount of distance around that course, and that was the Aussies.
Identical maneuvers across the board for all three teams as we go down on board to the runner-up squad. It's Rockwell, Denmark, Nikolai Sehested. Nikolai, straight away, congratulations. You guys are in the final. You pick up valuable points to move up, and as you said in our previous interview, it's all about San Francisco and getting into that grand final. But take us back to gate number 3. Was that the moment of the race when Australia got on the inside and there was no penalty?
Julius? Yeah, I think so. There was probably a big decider there. We were pretty sure that there was a penalty, but obviously the umpire saw it differently. But you know, it was a fun race. It was tight. It was just neck and neck the whole race with Australia. So that was pretty good fun, but obviously frustrating that we didn't get in the end.
Well, you said you were pretty hungry for a bit of risk in the start. It seemed like everyone was very, very hungry for risk in the start. How did you find that one?
Yeah, I thought we were hungry, but then I saw them being even earlier to leave it of us, and then it turned into damage control instead of who's not going to be early here. And yeah, I don't know, everyone was pushing pretty hard. I was surprised to see. I thought we were going to be the first one coming back to the line, but we ended up being the last one back to the line. That surprised me a bit.
Nikolai, I appreciate your time. Congratulations on the 9 points that go into your total, and we'll see you next month in Christchurch. So let's take a look at the event points now. This is the 8th event of 13, and it is Australia that gets the 10 points. Rockwell, Denmark gets 9, and New Zealand holds on with the 8 points. France just on the outside with 7. What a great day of racing. Let's go down on the water. Lisa Darmanin with the champions.
Well, congratulations, Tom. It took a while, but now you got the monkey off the back of the win on the board.
Yeah, no, we're so happy to win. It's our first win of the season, and we've been so close so many times, but it almost makes this sweeter to win here in Sydney, Australia, in front of our family and friends. It doesn't get any better.
And Tash, it's the first home win for you, but it was high pressure. Tell us what was going through your head.
Yeah, I'm really stoked to finally have won one at home with the team, but yeah, it was definitely really tricky and hard with less days on the boat this event, but yeah, it was really awesome and nice when we had less boats on the course, definitely.
Well, Tom, you said you wanted to have a good start, but everyone had a bad one, so it turned out okay for you.
Yeah, I know, it worked out good. 2 boats over and 1 boat with a penalty behind the line. I was like, okay, we might have an OCS, but at least we're good to get going in a good position. Yeah, no, I was convinced that was going to be a really bad one, like bad start in the final. You don't usually come back, but the team just sailed so well. I got great information, what marks were favoured, what the other teams were doing, and we were able to set up a bit differently and overtake the Danish, and then they almost got us back, but we managed to hold on.
Well, you put on a great show for everyone. Enjoy the celebrations and congratulations.
Yeah, thank you very much. Thank you everyone for watching.
So congratulations to the Australian team as they take home the victory here at event number 8 of 13 in season 4, the KPMG Australia Sail Grand Prix, Sydney, beautiful Sydney Harbour in New South Wales. And the celebration will get underway in just a moment time. But wow, Stevie, you just can't say enough about Tom Slingsby. We talk about consistency. They usually have one bad race in the first 5, and then they come back strong in that final.
Yeah, and Tom, you know, he pushed the limits there, didn't he? As Nikolai alluded to, it was a tight decision with the umpires. The umpires were happy, it was clear. But it's a big moment for this Australian crew. It's meant a lot to them to win just an event this season, and to do it on home water, well, that's absolutely huge.
Well, Emily, they looked good. They sailed well, and when the time was right, they crunched the numbers, and Australia gets it done.
Yeah, it's taken them a while, but they have gotten there, and what a brilliant way to win. Such a great final race to watch.
So let's take a look at the standings here in season 4 now with 8 events complete. It is Australia. They have pushed their lead up to 8 points. New Zealand is sitting there in 2nd place. Nikolai Sested holding on to 3rd with 52 as they move up. Spain now in 4th. France in 5th. Emirates GBR really a tough sail down here for them. They're in 6th. And the USA drops down to 7th place. And it's Canada, Germany, and Switzerland. Presentation time now as Martin Shepard, the national chairman of KPMG, steps on board. He will present the trophy, and Stevie, and then the bubbly will flow.
Well, they've done this before, but they've not done it for a while, so we'll be judging their technique for sure. But there you go. Great to have their hands on the wheel. Well done to the Australians.
And we are looking forward to the next event. It is relatively short travel across the Tasman Sea over to New Zealand, where the Kiwis will host things. It'll be the ITM New Zealand Sail Grand Prix in Christchurch. That's coming up on March 23rd and 24th. An absolute beautiful setting. Pete Burling will be back, and the Kiwis will be looking for a victory. And for the first time in SailGP history,
1 second to go.
Just get it back.
Such a rich racing history in New Zealand as the Aussies celebrate here in Sydney Harbour, and then they'll get back to work looking to back this one up here for event number 9 in season 4 as we make our way over to the ITM New Zealand Sail Grand Prix Christchurch. So on behalf of Stevie Morrison, Emily Nagel, and Lisa Darmanin, I'm Todd Harris. Once again, the Aussies reign supreme in Sydney Harbour at the KPMG Australia Sail Grand Prix. Welcome to Sydney Harbour. Day 2 of the KPMG Australia Sail Grand Prix has arrived.
Real fast. The prize for Nathan Aldridge.
Picking up their first win. It's Germany.
Oh, what a mistake by all of the crews. That's really close.
Australia takes the win in Sydney.